Hey there, TriMaster Swimming Nation and Swim Smooth Nation. Coach Mike Chitatis here in Louisville, Kentucky. Last week I was telling you about how we use this little device right here, the Tempo Trainer Pro, using Mode 1 to literally turn yourself into an endurance swimming machine. Okay, so this week I'm going to tell you how we use Mode 2 using something that I alluded to called red mist cycles. So let's make a little bit of differentiation here really quick just to explain the two different modes and how we use them. Mode 1 we use for what we call CSS intervals. Mode 2 we use for something called red mist cycles or RM cycles. Over here using the CSS intervals, we're utilizing or executing very precise pacing. Using the red mist cycles, it's going to be a little bit less precise, and I'll explain in a minute here. Our goal using CSS intervals is to stay with the beeper usually every 25 meters. And then the recovery time between intervals, let's say, is usually expressed as one beep, sorry about that, or 15 seconds, plus 15. Over here, our goal is to actually beat the beeper. It's to get ahead of the beeper. We usually set it to every 50 meters is when you'll hear the beep now. And in this case, using RM cycles, the recovery time is going to be determined by you. Now, let me give you an example of how to first set the Tempo Trainer and then how you can go off and give this a test and how you can go try it. Let's use the same example as last week. Let's say, hypothetically, your CSS pace is 1 minute 40 seconds per 100. The way we start things off, get the Tempo Trainer into Mode 2, take your 1 minute 40 seconds, divide that by 2, divide it in half. In this case, you get 50 seconds. So let's program the Tempo Trainer here to 50 seconds, okay? In Mode 2 now, it's rounded, the number here is rounded to the whole second. If you remember, in Mode 1 here, it's accurate down to the 1/100th of a second, hence the very precise nature of how we use it in Mode 1. In Mode 2, it's rounded to the whole second. The RM cycles or the intervals are expressed like this. They will look like, on any given workout that we have, as RM2 or RM3 or RM4. Let's just say we're going to go off and we're going to swim 400 meters. And let's use RM4 as our interval. What we do is we take this time right here that we established by just working out your CSS pace and getting that divided in half. And then the number beside the letters RM is the number that you will add to the Tempo Trainer. So in this case, RM4, we're going to click it up until we see 54 seconds on the Tempo Trainer. Now what we do, take the Tempo Trainer, put it up underneath your swim cap. When you press the top button, start your 400 meter swim, merely with the goal of beating the beeper every 50 meters. What you will find, regardless of what your CSS pace is, if it's currently accurate, is every 50 meters, you will slowly and incrementally get further and further and further ahead of the beeper, of the interval. So what the Tempo Trainer here is doing, it's beeping every 54 seconds, okay? Which is clearly a setting much slower than what we've established as your CSS pace here. At the end of your 400, you simply stop, and the time that you've accumulated getting ahead of the beeper during your 400 now becomes the recovery. So all you do now, if you're going to go off on another 400 effort, let's say, you simply wait until you hear the beeper, and then off you go on the next 400. If you want to ratchet the pace down, you can simply adjust the beeper setting right here to RM3. You would simply lower it down to 53, down to 52, and so on. You'll get less rest or more recovery, also giving you the ability to control your pace a little bit more, as opposed to over here where we are doing very precise pacing. You may have found that this can start to get very challenging, and if you're having a bit of an off day, when you start to fall back behind that beeper, that's not quite the greatest feeling. In this case here, it gives you a little bit more room for interpreting, or a little bit more room for how quickly you can set off, or how slow you can set off, while still keeping you on a very tight interval based off of your own individualized CSS pace. So give the 400 meter test a try, work out your CSS pace and your RM cycle right here, and just try 400 meters, just trying it at RM4, just to get a feel for it. And maybe you determine which you like the best. Some folks love being held entirely accountable to the very precise nature of the CSS intervals. Some people like to go with the flow a little bit more over here with the RM cycles. So give it a try, and we'll see you at a session very soon.